So Ben, where did the origination of the story came from? Where the idea came from?
Shall I speak in English?
Yes, it will be in English.
Okay.
For Sinalas, yeah.
Okay, great. So the story came from a desire to shoot something in Cuba, and I was wondering what I would be able to bring to. Sorry, let me start again. As an outsider, I didn't know what story I could tell authentically in Cuba, and I had been down there several times beforehand with my friend who was Cuban American, and he wanted to discover where his father was from. So we had gone down and I'd seen the country. I went down there just to accompany him because I love the culture and the music, and I fell in love with Cuba, and I realized I would like to shoot something there. And so I spent several years thinking about what I could tell, what story I could tell well. And it occurred to me, I'm a big fan of Jorge Luis Borges' work, and I thought I could try to maybe adapt one of his stories in Havana. So I began with this story called El Sahir, which is a story of a man who can't forget something, you know. So we began with this idea of an old man who couldn't forget this love affair from his youth, and that's where it came from.
Mario, why were you attracted to this film? I mean, you had a long, illustrious career.
Después de su carrera larga y muy bien conocido, ¿por qué le atrayó ese proyecto?
Este proyecto, bueno, el proyecto me atrajo primero por la juventud del director, que además era una gente muy joven, era su segunda película. Segundo, la historia que contaba me interesó. Y tercero, estaba muy ansioso de hacer una película con un realizador estadounidense. Esas tres cosas fueron fundamentales para que me decidiera hacer la película.
Should I translate that, or is it okay?
No, it should be fine.
Okay, good.
I don't understand, but our readers do.
It was first. What was the first thing? Because of the youth of the project, because I was a young man. The second was because he was interested in my. It was my second project, and the third was he thought it would be cool to be in an American film.
That is interesting. That as an American filmmaker, you're American, right? Filmmaker, you chose Cuba as a setting. I mean, is it just because Cuba is such a beautiful country and that you wanted to portray this? Was there any type of issues involved?
Well, that's a couple. I feel like that's two questions. The first question, yeah, I mean, I'm a musician, so for me, Cuba was always like this. I had a dream of Cuba as a kid, what it was, and also my father's best friend was Cuban, so I always was kind of growing up with this idea of Cuba, and I was just curious. And then I went down there, and I was blown away because it's an amazing place, and for so many reasons: culture, the music, the people, the way people communicate down there. Everything about it is fascinating and vibrant, and you just, as a filmmaker, you just know you can make a great film there. So I wanted to try, and then yeah, there was issues. I mean, there are reasons that there haven't been American films made down there. You've got all the hurdles related to the embargo, and then you've got all these. You've got the lack of knowledge in American culture, and just personally, you don't know how things work down there. It works completely differently. So we had to go through all of that stuff, figuring out how to get there, how to get our film there, how to find a team, you know, and learning how people worked there, which was different, and learning how productions work down there, which is totally different. But it was great. It was like it was a great experience.
No government issues?
Well, no, there were issues. There's a lot of issues. It's a lot of paperwork. On the American side, we're still kind of resolving some legal gray areas. But the main thing for us was that as artists, we're making a film, we're making a collaboration between Cuban artists and American artists. And luckily in the United States we have the Constitution, which protects our freedom of expression to make this happen. And actually, ironically, you may say it's ironic, the Cuban government was friendlier to us than the American government in making this project happen. But I think, we're in a special time right now where both the Cuban government and the American government want to make something happen, and they want to allow for projects like this to happen. This is a collaboration, and so I think I feel great privilege to be presenting this movie with Mario and Livia in Los Angeles as, the first or one of the first Cuban-American collaborations since this has changed.
In that moment, just in that moment,
yeah,
with, ¿cómo se dice? Acercamiento de relaciones entre Estados Unidos y Cuba.
Yeah, we're getting closer. It's a moment of coming together, and we hope our film will in some ways show the benefit of that and the reason to continue to bring it closer together rather than this after so many years of being kind of isolated from each other.
Absolutely. I was going to say if the Cuban side was, collaborative with your project, but it sounds like they were.
Well, we had access to the greatest actors in Cuba, and thanks to our casting agent Livia. Yeah, on the Cuban side, it was. Yeah, we had everything that we wanted. I mean, it was incredible actually. They let us shoot in the Museo de la Revolución, which is this incredible facility, and it was a real. I felt kind of blessed that everything worked out. We got to shoot in amazing locations with the best actors, and we were able to do it all for our low budget, which was incredible. So, yeah, so they were actually.
Now, tell me how important utilizing the Cuban culture, because I've seen the movie and there's a lot of different Cuban cultures that were throughout the entire movie, including a scene that I found hard to watch was the Voodoo Scene, which Mario was in, because we're not quite familiar, and that looked very realistic.
Era de la escena de Palo, y bueno, habla de la cultura cubana que existe dentro del plano que hicimos.
Ahí está mi esposa, my wife.
Yeah, his wife.
Good.
Yeah, his wife Aurora Basnuevo. They're a team, an acting team, a comedy radio team, and yes, she was also in that scene. She played the woman who kind of came under possession. But what was the question again?
No, I'd say how important it is to include the Cuban culture into that kind of stuff. Just like the Voodoo Scene.
Yeah, well, I guess I would say for me, I had some ideas of what I wanted to show because I'd been there a few times and I'd learned something, and I felt like I had a sense of the different parts of Cuban culture that you really feel on the street. So I wanted to represent them, but I needed a lot of help. And my approach was I brought a script, but certain parts were kind of like open. And for example, the Palo scene, I was inspired by Black Orpheus. There's a great scene in that movie where his lover has died, and then he also kind of stumbles into, I think in that, it's Brazil, so it's candomblé, but it's related. I think a lot of it, well, Palo is Congo, right?
Palo.
Yeah.
Congo, Bantú.
Yeah.
Bantú. And in Cuba, el que no tiene de Congo, tiene de Carabalí. Dice la gente en el pueblo. Quien no tiene de Congo, tiene de Carabalí. Porque somos un ajiaco.
Sí.
Un ajiaco. Africanos, españoles y un poco de chinos que llegaron a partir de 1847 a Cuba y se ligaron también con los cubanos, y por eso es un ajiaco. Tanto la cultura como la racialidad en Cuba.
Yeah. So yeah, he's talking about, I mean, that's what I was trying to capture in whatever way I could. And the stew of cultures, it's a big mixture of, yeah, African, the Spanish, a little bit of Chinese, and the whole thing in Havana is just this very...
Like a melting pot.
Yeah, it's a melting pot beyond what we even can consider a melting pot, you know, in Los Angeles. I'm from New York. So... yeah, we were just trying to represent it, and luckily I had the collaboration of people who helped me make it more authentic, you know.
Excellent. Now, obviously you portrayed several different types of arts also, including dance scenes and the music, like the melody that you kept on replaying over and over again until it got stuck in my head throughout the entire movie. Did you come up with that melody, and did Mario... You could play instruments too?
No. Habla de la guitarra.
No.
Well, we had this melody, and then we had a trecero cubano.
Trecero.
¿Cómo se llamaba? No me acuerdo.
Silvio Tarín.
Silvio Tarín. Entonces, tuvimos Silvio Tarín tocando la guitarra.
Yo doblando.
Atrás. Fuera del plano, y Mario haciendo su cosa. But that scene was incredible to film. It was great because that was real. You know, we just went around on the streets, and Mario was playing, like pretending to play, and the guy was behind him, and people were responding. You know, some people didn't know what we were doing, but everyone knows Mario, so everyone wanted to be in a scene with him if they could. You know, so we were mixing documentary and fiction in a way. So I tried to create these little things that would allow as much of real life to enter the film as possible. So that was a good moment for that.
Yeah, I kind of like the multi-layered, where basically you went from past to the present, all this kind of stuff, trying to figure out the main character process. So it was very well done.
Thank you.
Okay, let me start wrapping things up. Could you guys talk about your future projects?
Okay.
Are you going back to, like, for example, like back to Cuba maybe again?
I would love to. There's so many stories to tell in Cuba, and America still has no idea about what's actually going on there. I would love to make another movie there. I think I have to make one in New York first, but I also am very interested in doing a documentary that's about the way music has traveled between all these different cultures, and especially in the Caribbean. My last film was in Jamaica, and I love, as a musician, that's kind of always my first attraction to these places. So I'm trying to develop a television series that will trace how these musics have traveled, for example, from Haiti to Cuba to New Orleans to New York and back around. And Mario, ¿puede hablar de sus próximos proyectos?
Sí. El próximo proyecto mío, bueno, yo hago un programa, como tú sabes, diario, que es un programa con una tremenda audiencia en la radio cubana, con más de 3 millones de oyentes, que se llama Alegría de Sobremesa, un programa que tiene 50 años en el aire. Además de eso, tengo un proyecto de una película con Livia como jefa de casting.
Claro, como siempre.
Vamos a ver si será. En esa estamos. Y en televisión, yo con mi mujer hago una pareja humorística, y nosotros tenemos un programa que se llama Entre Amigos, donde estamos, cuando ya tenemos el texto, y entonces en cualquier momento lo estamos grabando. El programa sale los miércoles, todos los miércoles en la televisión.
He's continuing with his show that's been on with his wife Aurora. It's been on the air for 50 years, and it's on the radio every day. That's why his voice is the most recognizable voice, one of the most recognizable voices in Cuba. And then also they have a weekly television show. ¿Cómo se llama la programa de televisión?
Entre amigos.
Entre amigos. Between friends, yeah. So that's every Wednesday, and then beyond that, Livia, who's a great casting director in Cuba, they've got other projects that are coming in for film, but still getting the details worked out.
Terrific. Well, hey, thank you for this conversation. I'm glad that you made a film that hopefully opened American eyes towards Cuba. I mean, my sister went there last year and she said it was beautiful.
Yeah, great.
So anyways, terrific, and it's been a pleasure for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.